today myself and Deegan have driven down to Sittingbourne to come and interview Kevin Energy ahead of his, two sets, his obviously his freeform set, Elevated State, and also his New Energy D&B live PA with Blaze One and Jasmine Knight, which we're all really excited about. So we're going to give him a lowdown, find out what he's been up to, and just catch up with the guy.
Hello!
Hello.
Knock, knock, knock!
Alright! How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Hello. First question then. You relaunched New Energy with New Energy 102 towards the end of last year with Paul Hardcore with the Enigma and the other side. What's changed and why now?
Yeah, good question. You know what? It's all Paul's fault. I'm going to blame Paul.
Right.
Paul's a local guy. Although I knew him back in the Croydon days, I used to sell him his vinyl in the record shop. He'd moved to Kent. I'd moved to Kent to live with my missus and set up Big Jam as a business. And he'd phoned the studio a few times and kept threatening to come in for me to help him with his rave production. Right. He was basically writing his own stuff at home. And finally, after being here for 4 years, he come down with his demo tracks, basically, and really stand out freeform. Great melodies, but he's just not quite got the production there. And he's also, and it's something that a lot of other music producers will say as well, they can't finish songs. Yeah. So it's the hardest thing is how to finish a song. Yeah. So we did the first track, which was the Enigma. He'd spent 2 years creating that flute sound, by the way. Right. And we called it the Enigma because he was inspired by Enigma. Paul was just intent on creating that flute. But so he created this sample himself, and I've got the sample on this computer here, and there's no way he'll ever let anyone else have that sample. And I've had to do a secret handshake with him as to not allowing anyone else to have this flute sound. So we built this track around the flute, and I absolutely loved it. It was like I was really just feeling the vibes and everything. And then he come to me with his demo for the other side, which was the other side of Energy 102. And again, it was finished. It was all his idea, his melodies. I just chunked up the sounds, looked at the arrangement. I generally bastardise his arrangements and his kick drums and everything. And I was just thinking I could let Paul walk out of here and he could do what he wants with these tracks. Well, I was thinking they are screaming New Energy. Yeah. And at the time I had a tour to Australia coming up, and that he asked me, he said, would you think about it? I said, I've already thought about it in the background. So we did a little handshake there and then, and it's Paul's fault basically. Yeah. Paul couldn't single-handedly say that he's responsible for the resurgence of New Energy, and I think he come to me at the right time in the right place.
New Energy 103.
Yeah.
What can we expect? When can we expect it?
I've already scheduled it with the digital distributor. Right. I've got the artwork made. Yeah. I've got it mastered. Right. And I've sent it to probably 4 people so far. I need to send it to a few more people. It's another 2-track EP with Paul. Yeah. Snake Charmer is the A side, and Project 5 is the flip. Okay. Snake Charmer is just, it's almost a bit quirky and cheesy, the melody in it, but at the same time it's downright dirty, and I dropped it at hard beats and it scared the life out of people. And Project 5 is like a really purist old New Energy track with that kind of hard energy kick and just really cool melody, and it kind of disappears into some psytrance as well. It's a really unpredictable track actually. Okay. It's a good EP. I think it's stronger than 102, and that's saying something, isn't it? Because 102 was a big EP. So
nice. Sweet. From our experiences running Isle of Our Beats over the last few years, we've seen quite a bit of growth to our party. It seems to be going along well. Why do you think that people are saying that there's a problem with the rave scene at the moment?
Are people saying there's a problem with the rave scene?
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying that in London especially, there's not as much attendance. A lot of parties like Sinistry, parties like that are closed the doors. It seems like there's only sort of a couple of big brands in London at the moment.
I see. I feel like I'm out the loop with what's going on in the rave scene, especially compared to what I used to be like. Yeah. I'd know of every night that was going on. I'd be at every after party simultaneously somehow. Part of my brain in that one, the other part in that one. So if there is a problem with the rave scene. It will rectify itself as long as there is still something to cling on to. And if it seems like maybe you're that thing to cling on to, so well done for keeping it real throughout that. I think you've got the right idea with Heartbeats, where you don't do many, and when you do them, it makes them special. Keep doing what you're doing.
We're thinking one every Monday, weren't we?
One every Monday, yeah. Sweet.
Growth plans. Yeah, you're doing New Energy drum and bass live PA with Jasmine Knight and Blaze One. What can people expect to hear? What have you been prepping for the PA?
Yeah, do you know what? I've not even fully announced that yet, and I need to get round to that. In fact, actually, New Energy D&B is ready to launch, in that we've finally got our logo. And
so is it a whole new venture then?
Release.
It's not just a one-off PA?
No, it's not a one-off PA. I've been producing all sorts of music for all sorts of people at Big Jam. One of those people is Jasmine, who's just an awesome top-line singer. Loves the drum and bass, absolutely loves it. And to start off with, she was bringing in demos that other people had written, and she was writing top lines to it, and I was producing the vocals. And it got to the point where her vocals were too big for these tracks. The tracks weren't cutting the mustard enough for the power of her vocals, so I started to produce her tracks for her as well. And it's just like a whole nother level for her now. And it's like New Energy melodies with dirty ass bass drops and really slamming beats. So I'm doing the production along with some other people that she's working with. We've got Ricky on the guitar. He works for me. He's normally behind the screen, but he's a guitarist who works for me here. He's going to be doing the guitar. I'm going to be doing all the laptop stuff. Moving forward between myself and the other guys that we're working with as a production group, Jasmine will be doing loads more live PAs. I think she's going to smash it for you. One of the tracks, because it's Heartbeats, is going to be freeform.
Nice.
I've done a freeform remix of one of Jasmine's tunes, so we're going to take it into kick drum right at the end. But your crowd are going to love it, and I'm massively excited for it.
Look forward to it.
I don't know if you know, but Nick the Kid runs Hard Trance Europe, which is a new brand that he's launched to run with our event basically under Elevate State. Because at the moment there's a lot more hard trance coming out. Guyver's got an album coming. Scott Project's writing again, and with the really big hard trance lineup that we've got, like Scott Project, Snyder, Guyver. Who else do you think in the hard trance side is an influential?
Isn't Snyder a goalkeeper? I got to say, Scott Project, as a DJ, I've played loads of his tracks over the years, and I've seen pictures of him. He looks like a menacing dude, and his production is off the wall, second to none. And to be able to be in the same club as him and actually perform there, but then get to listen to him, that's exciting. How on earth have you pulled that one off? Scott Project, that's big. That is epic. I don't know if people realise how big that is.
The hard trancing series that you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
Is there any chance of another one of those? Because they are probably my most listened to.
Oh cool.
Mixes from back in the day, I would say.
That's cool. Nice. All my vinyls are in my loft at the minute. It's a sad state of affair. So when I took this studio on, one of the most exciting things was setting up my decks here and having somewhere where I could proper crank it. But as business has got busier and busier, my vinyls have been taking up space where I need the space for other things. So I took them all home again and set them up at home, which was okay. Still best to have them. And then I had a baby, and now there's a pram where all my decks used to be. So for the first time in my whole life as a DJ, all my vinyls are in the loft, and I think it's sad. But it's like, watch this space. They're just there temporarily.
K90, Proteus, Lab 4, all had some of their biggest and also earliest gigs at Escape from Samsara, who we're hosting one of the rooms for the Elevated State. What would you say was your biggest gig? And then what was also the gig that you thought, shit, I've made it here as a DJ?
Biggest gig? One or
most
two.
Enjoyable gig.
Most enjoyable or biggest? Biggest is between two. One of them being Transmission at Alexandra Palace. I got a picture that someone took from behind me, and they framed the shot perfect. I had my hands in the air, and the whole crowd had their hands in the air, and it just looks cool. Nice. And that was a big event. There might have been about 8,000 to 10,000 people in that one room. But I did a gig in Australia at the after they'd had the Olympics, and I did a gig at the Olympic Superdome for a promotion called Utopia in Australia, and that was a lot of people. Nice. Maybe more so than that one.
Really?
But not quite as an energetic crowd.
Yeah.
The most enjoyable, I always actually come back to this one outdoor festival I did in Australia.
Right.
It was the Enchanted Festival.
Right.
And John was on the mic. I played 5 till 7 in the morning.
Is that recorded?
Yeah, it's up
I've
online.
got that.
Yeah.
I've listened to that loads.
And John is on form on the mic,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
He's just smashing it. Both got our sunglasses on. The sun's coming up. The crowd have been waiting for Freeform the whole night. They had Pendulum on and other really cool acts, and really what they were waiting for was Freeform.
For us, Freeformation was one of the, well, for me, definitely the biggest and best rave I've ever been to. And it's always had such a diverse multi-genre lineup. It's a huge influence for all of our beats, obviously, because we sort of came off the end of New Energy and Our Beats Collective and New Energy and all of our beats and Freeformation. What do you think for any promoter would be good tips to keep making sure you're doing when running a rave?
Well, I already did a tip before, didn't I? And I said don't put on raves too often.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is that your first one is successful no matter what happens. So expect to make a loss, but fill the club and make it rammed. You've got to have a team of people working for the event that are all dedicated to the cause and willing to put in hard work to get people to know about it. Doing flyering, all of that stuff, where to promote it. Have good quality artwork. You need a good brand image. Visuals is absolutely everything, and if you've got nothing to back yourself up with, start off with, how your image looks is really important, I think.
So, Big Jam Studios.
Yeah.
What's it all about? What's your day look like?
What's it all about? This place was a bit of an experiment, really, and I needed somewhere that I could just write my own music, and I spent like 3 months looking for somewhere to rent, and this place was one of the first places I looked at, but it was just too big and it was too expensive as well. But I came back to it after exhausting all other things, and I thought, well, maybe it is workable. I thought, well, I may as well open it as a public studio, and then when I'm not producing my own stuff, I can produce for other people. Now, these days, I'm literally just producing for other people. Yesterday I had a rapper in the morning. It's the first time he'd ever recorded himself, and he wanted to sound like Kanye West with the auto-tune effect. So I did a bit of vocal production for him. Then I had a dad bring his daughter in, she's into performing arts and all of that, and he'd bought her a gift voucher for Christmas. And then in the afternoon I had another rapper in, 5 till 7. So a day of music production yesterday. I'm getting a lot of rappers through, actually. Yeah, it's cool. And then I get people like Jasmine who literally turn up, sit on the sofa and say, I want a dirty, trancey drum and bass tune, and I'll write her a track that she'll write vocals to. I get people that have already written top line vocals, and they bring it to me and they say they want it to be like an Alicia Keys track, or they give me a couple of tracks they want it to sound like, and I write custom backing tracks for them. We do, the day before yesterday I had a hypnotist in recording videos for all day. Yeah.
You get all that for free, did he?
So we do business stuff, loads of business, vlogging videos, logo animations, karaoke videos at people's weddings, children's parties. Me and my fiance, I keep saying wife, I keep thinking we've actually it's just much easier to say wife than fiance, isn't it? Yeah. She was a drama teacher at school. And she's great with kids, and we had this idea to put on an experience party for kids. Do you know what? I absolutely love it. It's cool, it's exciting. They're really excited. They go home with a CD with their picture on the front of the CD and their pop group name. Mums love it. So it's basically trying to get this space to work for me in as many ways as I can.
I've been enviously looking at all the studio gear down there, which I'm not sure you can see on the camera or not, but what's your favourite piece of studio gear? 2 questions. What's your favourite piece, and then what's the most essential or most important, would you say?
Favourite piece would be the part you've still got a bit of dribble on there, actually. It's called a Culture Vulture, and it's just valve distortion, but it's got an overdrive switch here, and it just basically distorts the fuck out of anything. I use it on absolutely everything that's electronic and needs to sound hot and up front. The most essential bit for my studio is this Universal Audio LA610 Mark II. It's a preamp and compressor all in one. And I'm always recording vocalists. And a good quality valve preamp is yours, coupled with a good mic, of course, which I've got loads of good mics, but that's your secret to getting good quality vocals. And a lot of my customers come here for the quality of the vocals. That's the secret right there.
So what would be your top tips for any up and coming producer?
Top tips for a producer: you're not just a producer these days, you're your own branding and marketing person. And you've got to work just as hard on that aspect of yourself as you have on your production. And if you can't get your track to sound fat, send me your stems and I'll do you a mix through my gear. There's a lot of people sending out substandard stuff, and if they just learn how to just balance the sounds properly, they'll get taken a lot more seriously.
So, obviously not massively involved in the rave scene anymore, but you're working with a lot of music, and probably a lot of different artists.
That's right.
Probably have an ear out for other things. So who have you most been impressed with artist-wise over the last 12 months?
Well, my life's very much in the Big Jam bubble, as I said, and inside the studio. Three artists stand out. One of them being Jasmine Knight, who I'm writing all of her backing tracks for, and come to Hard Beats and see her in person. A young guy called Jack Rose on the wall here. There's a disc. He's only 15. It's not recently turned 15, and he's a singer. His dad's acting as his manager, and I'm writing a lot of backing tracks for him. And he's a really talented young guy that's potentially going to be a pop star in the future. And there's another cool singer who comes through called Elizme. She's only 18, from the Isle of Sheppey, and she writes really cool top lines, and her voice is like velvet, really cool tone to her voice, and I'm writing her backing tracks.
For me, freeform means a progressive aisle in Sainsbury's that sells vegan and gluten-free.
It is that,
food. But what does freeform mean for you?
When that all came about, basically, the people that wanted to think differently about happy hardcore back in those days and wanted to take it in a direction where it could be, more of a credible genre. At the time, it was like myself, Billy Bunter, Fury, Helix, Sharky, that wanted to try and make hardcore more credible again. And we called ourselves the freeformers. We didn't call the genre freeform.
Right.
And the actual name of the genre kind of stuck off the back of that. That's where it came from. If you want to go OTT and say, what is it to be freeform is not really to stick to any boundaries. There's enough good things out there and good music. We're all individuals. One man's jam is another man's ham. Seriously.
Favourite rave memory?
Favourite rave memory? I'm going to say the one I can't remember because I was so wasted. It was awesome.
Favourite club?
Ever in the World. I really like Coco, but I really liked Bagley's back in the days. That was good.
Your personal favourite New Energy track?
There's a lot. I'm going to pull one out from an underdog and say Duncan Oakham, Rock the Disco, the original mix.
Tomatoes and sandwiches, yes or no?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, all the time.
Is that the
BLT.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think we're going to have to wrap this up. Right. We asked 100 ravers, what would you ask 100 ravers? What was the top answer?
Make some noise after Fred! 1, 2...
Believe it or not, it was actually, what would you ask 100 ravers?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sausage otter, yes or no?
Only if he's washed it.
Lip peng, toasted, chapped up like a chap at a chap party. The bizboz, the go-was, the puff pastry hangman are just some of the lingo we've heard recently. What's the weirdest phrase or expression you've heard in a while?
Diddle, stiddo, and you ditto. You get me now?
Round 2 of the interview stage. We have got a game which we like to play all the time called Feel My Item. Where basically what you do is we give you a blindfold and then we'll give you an inanimate object and you must guess what that item is.
Unanimous.
But we haven't got any blindfolds, but what we do have is a selection of
Children's
underwear.
Back to one for each eye.
Okay.
Right.
So, item 1.
Yeah. Oh. Well, it's clearly a cushion of some kind.
Yeah.
It's got a funny shape to it. That could be a pair of ears, and that's like a chin. And it's shaped a bit like a devil in that the chin's really pointy, and as you go up, so it's like it's in Ghostbusters, the first Ghostbusters, on the top of the building, that dog that turns to stone. It's a cuddly one of them.
A cuddly dog that turns to stone.
This anticipation is killing me, by the way. Oh, that's a parsnip.
Yes.
Parsnips, me go on out tonight. Oh, I don't like that. It's spongy. It's that material that
That was brave.
oh no. Well, it could be like a children's toy thing. It's clearly not.
There's a good story about that actually. It was meant to be a children's toy, but it was product recalled because people started eating it. Really? Yeah.
It is a tampon that's been used and left to dry out afterwards. Oh no! What the hell is that? Is it coconut?
Yeah.
Yes!
Right.
Oh! Oh, that's a butt plug.
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
Good round.
Okay,
Good
cool.
Well done. Right. So the items you didn't get was the poo emoji,
Emoji.
and the other one was a toy croissant.
Oh! I was thinking that.
Thanks a lot for your time. If you could just let people know where they can see you next and what to expect.
Elevated State for Hard Trance Europe and Samosara, and of course I love Heartbeats, and I do love Heartbeats, and I'm going to be busting all my new energy stuff there. This is the set that I'll be putting all my effort into this year. If you want to come see me DJ, it doesn't matter how far you are away, this is the place to come. If you've not been to a Heartbeats before, they're awesome. If you've not been to a rave before, raves are awesome, Heartbeats is awesome.
Make sure this is the one that you break your raving cherry
Yeah,
to.
break your raving cherry. Come and pop your cherry in front of me. See if we can make a clash mix.